He heard go for it in his head and went for it.
So this week of White Supremacy, I jumped the gun. I used all of my vocal cords. We are this week in White Supremacy. Hello, the cameras are on. Oh shit, the mic is on. My name is Jasiri X. I'm co-founder and CEO of One Hood Media. If you've never seen This Week in White Supremacy, welcome. If you are a repeat viewer, we appreciate you tuning back in with us to discuss and laugh with us at America's collapse. I mean, that's kind of what we're watching, you know what I'm saying? And our tour guide, as always, to my immediate right.
It's a miracle.
Miracle. Should I give them your new acronym?
Yes.
We dubbed her Man-Hating Miracle.
Because there's always a man. There's always a man.
In our pre-production meeting, Miracle.
Man-Hating Miracle.
A man is always obstacles to your greatness. Is always a man in your path trying to knock you over.
Miracle defending a judge who shot two men.
I don't know what he's talking about. See, a man. There's always a man, JK.
Wow.
Anyways, it is Miracle, aka Big Blessing with the Big Blessing. Just here.
And my brother.
It's your boy Trouble Nonetheless. Niggas love serenity.
Yes. We do.
Never like supremacy.
Yes.
You feel me?
Absolutely. And sir.
The Supreme Asiatic Intelligently Divine here on this fine Jackie Robinson Day.
Yes, and you have your Jackie Robinson jersey.
Yeah.
Wait. Unfortunately, due to the new measures in the Trump administration, we can no longer celebrate or even say the name Jackie Robinson because that's DEI, bro.
Right, yeah.
Like that's
there
DEI.
was no color barrier for him to break.
Yes, the Major League Baseball was perfectly fine, and it's all white state. They had Babe Ruth.
That's why I have an all white jersey on. What the fuck is you thinking? Come on.
Remember the guy was like, Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier wasn't political?
Yeah, like who said that?
A man.
RG3 said that shit.
RG3, yeah.
RG3 said that.
Yes. A man.
Uneducated.
An uneducated man said that.
I don't. You know, we should just let Miracle helm the ship today. All of us should just leave.
Well,
give Miracle an hour by itself.
That's what the
and I can just rant on how
then we're out of jobs because that's really what the audience wants. I feel like that'll be our most watched show.
I'd be the first one to get men to give up their podcast mics.
Oh shit!
Oh, wow. Okay.
You'd be like the podcast Rosa Parks. She was the first to make black men.
Oh my
get
God.
on the podcast. So right now,
the podcast would go away because like people love y'all.
Well, this is the thing, Miracle, because
all of y'all's fans come up to me and talk to me about how much they love y'all. So like
that's crazy because the opposite happens to me.
Yes,
all I get is how much people love Miracle.
Miracle. Text messages, Miracle. Yeah. Yes. But the question we need to ask though, Miracle.
Rosa Parks sat so Miracle could kick in backs.
We got to put that on the shirts. Oh my God!
And just like a cartoon of Miracle drop kicking someone's spine off their chest.
It's got to be Joe Biden, and we'll talk about that later on.
I want to see a celebrity death match of Miracle versus Joe Biden.
Can they bring it back? Oh my God!
As Joe Biden reemerges, Miracle
would toss that
right
nigga
now.
like a pizza, just like this.
She's looking for stronger boots.
We have animators. Wait a minute.
We do have animators. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The question is though, for us. Do they have podcast mics in El Salvador? Because we might be on our way.
Yo, listen, I put that video out like 3 months ago about Trump ended birthright citizenship.
Yes.
Right? And it got a lot of traction.
Yes.
And some people were saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Trump can, like, the Constitution prevents people, American citizens, from being deported. Well. It sounds like I was right.
Look what we have. Did you want to play the clip of Trump was meeting with a guy that rules himself, President Nayib. I'm just gonna call him the president of El Salvador because you know I'm not good with names. Who brands himself the world's coolest dictator. So Trump was meeting with him. El Salvador has a deal with the United States where they're sending prisoners there. There is a prisoner who was sent there according to their own DOJ. This is Trump's DOJ on an error that the Supreme Court is saying they have to bring back, which they're saying they're not going to bring back. But not only are they not going to bring back this man, they're also thinking about sending
the homegrown criminals.
You and me. Did you want to play that clip?
Jesus Christ.
Remember, the people wanted to change everything, and they wanted to be the man. They love you. They love what you do. I'm not for support. I want them to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, homegrown. All right.
But also, can you play that clip? They asked him directly.
Yeah.
Would he send American citizens to El Salvador?
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn.
Do they have to be 87, Trump?
Yeah, that includes them. What, do you think there's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones.
Ironically, the man speaking
has 34 felonies.
I was literally just thinking,
and according to a civil court, actually committed rape. You know what I'm saying? According to a civil court. So that's fascinating that he would say that. Coming to you, Miracle, as you do triple duty. Legally, well, I can't really say legally right now.
We don't have a constitution, but continue.
Right, because the Supreme Court in a 9-0 ruling said that the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia after they admitted they expelled him over an administrative error. Trump and his White House is doubling down that they're not going to return this man. And they're saying it's up to the president of El Salvador. So this man's wife has to go to El Salvador to try to get. So again, like, here's the Supreme Court saying you have to do this. The Supreme Court also said you have to let AP into the White House pool. They're not doing that. So they're saying, like, we don't have any checks and balances. We're going to do what we want to do.
Correct.
This is our reality. So we just have a dictator right now.
Oh, I thought you were asking me a question. Was a question in there?
Yes.
What can happen? Like,
if we are we in the are we in a
dictatorship,
fascism? That's what we're watching right now.
Yes, and it's just because there is no one right now willing to organize and push back. We've talked a lot about Republicans not standing up for the Constitution, Democrats not really wanting to fight Trump, and not really wanting to call him out because they're still voting for the people he has elected, right?
Right.
They voted, Fetterman, I believe, voted for Pam Bondi. Fetterman also voted for Marco Rubio. So the people who are implementing these policies, Democrats put in these positions of power is number one.
Yes.
Number two, there is just no one trying to actually fight. All of these lawsuits are coming from community groups, right?
Yes.
They're coming from organizations who are impacted. It's not the Democrats themselves doing this lawfare and suing. It's not, the minority speaker saying they're going to filibuster everything. There really is no organization. There's not anyone saying that this is a coup, calling for a military intervention, saying this is wrong. And I think people need to also understand when it comes to El Salvador, the man was deemed to be eligible for deportation. He just could not go back to El Salvador based on the fact that he originally was trying to say that his life was in danger in El Salvador.
Right.
When you are someone who is eligible for deportation, you are traditionally sent back to your home country, your host country. Yes. But if there's an issue, like say, you are practicing a different religion, you may be queer, you can pick other countries who have an agreement with the U.S. to be deported to.
I did not know that.
Yes. Trump was like, I'm sending everybody to the prison, right? And that's also another thing that we're seeing is usually you are deported to the country and you go about your business in the country. They are deporting people to a prison all these men are having to be there for a minimum of a year, according to the president of El Salvador, and they have to work. So they're being sent to a concentration labor camp where they're being forced to work to make products that are being sold. So this is really
sounds like something. I can't put my finger on it.
Enslavement agreement.
That's the word.
And then they're saying you have to stay here for a minimum of a year and you haven't been convicted of anything.
Right.
And so that is now becoming the issue, because we also saw yesterday there was a man who was born a Palestinian who is being deported. He's being arrested to be deported, and nobody knows where he's going to be deported to. Right. So is he going to be deported to Israel?
This is the Colombian student that was just recently arrested. Yes.
So people don't know if they're being if now when they're getting grabbed by ICE, are they being deported to these countries, or are they automatically going to El Salvador? Because there is an agreement for them to take people, but it's not open public where it's just people accused of being in gangs or anyone or any man.
And now, you had a Louisiana immigration court, in the case of Mahmoud Khalil, say that he can be deported based on past statements. So now it's not about whether or not you commit a crime or not, because there's no crime. He didn't commit any crime, but they're saying because of his past statements that are pro-Palestinian statements, that alone is enough now to kick you out of the country.
Yes, and this is, again, completely unprecedented times, because technically the Alien Act they're using is supposed to be only during times of war. This is what allowed for the Japanese internment, these things of like that nature. Like in times of war, you're able to push people out of the country. Here, it's just like, if you have anti-Christian bias, like what does that mean? It's saying if you're not a Christian, but we also have, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. So everything right now is just intention, and no one knows who is protecting who isn't. But I think you're starting to see, especially with the situation that happened yesterday, I always mispronounce people's names, that more people are getting involved, because this was a person who was he was a Buddhist. He wasn't even Muslim, right? He was this man who was Buddhist. He was a peace activist. He had spoken out against Hamas. He was working to educate people about anti-Semitism and how to grow a leftist movement that was not anti-Semitic, and was trying to bridge a lot of gaps. So for all intents and purposes, he went there to come out a U.S. citizen and was basically kidnapped by ICE. So now everyone is outraged, and these things have to get and force people to mobilize. I'm trying to relearn new phrases, but at the end of the day, the people are in power are only in power because we're not standing up and fighting back.
Okay, so I want to get to that, because there are some standing and fighting back, but I just want to ask Farouk and Trouble, have you downloaded Duolingo? Are you getting your Spanish? Clearly, we should be concerned. I think just as black people, and especially as people that are critical of this administration, critical of Donald Trump specifically, we should be getting ready to possibly have to deal with some type of legal fight. Should we say that? Should we be quiet? How are you guys feeling in this moment?
I mean, el idioma que yo hablo,
you good? You good?
Claro
you
que
good
sí,
in El Salvador?
Yo, que lo que, papi, que lo que. I'm good.
You're in good enough shape to work for a year? Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd be a strong slave. I don't know. How do I answer that question? I don't know.
And we have a title, a strong slave.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't. I have so many things to say about this, because it's a very concerning reality. Kind of like you highlighted. All jokes aside, me specifically, I can only talk about me because that's who I know. I'm at this intersection where I have ties to another country. I'm Muslim. Right. I'm Arab. I'm black. I'm formerly incarcerated.
Yeah.
I am anti things.
Yes.
Right? I'm pro things.
Yes.
That lines me directly up for.
And I would say anti-war, pro-peace. We'll say it like that.
Let's go like that. Yes. You know what I mean? I'm a prime candidate to be.
You are literally the poster child.
I am literally the poster child for said abductions. And it's concerning.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever come to a time I'm not worried about going back to jail. Do I want to go back to jail? No.
Right.
Jail don't bother me like it bothers other people, because niggas been through that. This is something completely different.
Yeah.
This is a time where I'm actually a little worried about,
Right.
and I've had conversations with you and other people close to me, like, yo, the world feel a little different right now.
Right. It's like palpable in terms of like, yo, I'm somebody that speaks out. I'm somebody that, has been very prominent.
Yeah, I'm visible.
Right. And therefore I could be one of these individuals. Again, if they're grabbing up, and I didn't know the person was booted, they're grabbing up booted, like they can make a case
for anybody.
I've done a rap song in support of Palestine. They could take that song and say, yo, you said this, now you gotta go. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about this before. The whole first part of our careers as rappers was about Islamic things.
100%.
Socially conscious music, liberation for oppressed peoples.
Yes.
And I'll say this before I kick over Treble. Not too long ago, a couple years ago, ICE was committing covert, I don't see even covert, but they were committing raids in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And one of the ways, and they were doing this in cities across America, one of the ways they were identifying people when asking for papers and snatching up people, where they were coming up to people in grocery stores and asking where the washroom was in Spanish. Donde el baño? And if you say something like that to me, I'm just instinctively going to respond in Spanish because it's like, I just figure you asking a question. Right? Now, that becomes suspicious activity and grounds to be for deportation.
Literally, just speaking a different language.
Just speaking a different language. So it's like it's crazy. And think about how think about how many dark-skinned Spanish people there are.
A lot,
Right, you got Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, all these Central Americans, Cubanos, a whole bunch of dark-skinned Central Americans that speak Spanish that could be subjected to the same things. Or Arabic, or just another language that's not English. They even detained a white German woman in San Diego.
And this is the thing.
So it's like nobody's safe right now.
Right, and then even if you're not, like, they can, literally, this man was sent in an error.
Yeah.
And they're saying, yo,
they don't care.
We don't care. They're like the person who said it was an error got fired. They're doubling down like, no, this man is a criminal. No. So like, even if you're sent in error, they're going to say they can make a case. This person didn't like America. This person didn't deserve what freedoms, quote unquote, that we supposedly have in America. Therefore, they got to get kicked out. Trouble?
J'étudie français.
Oh, shit.
Y aprendo español.
Sí, claro que sí.
Sí,
tú?
Sí.
Oh, and, so you said Paris and Mexico are on your list? France and Mexico on your list? Your deportation list?
I la France.
Yeah, can somebody, can I pick like Barbados? Like, do I get to choose where I go? Send me to Barbados.
But no, this is scary times that we're in because
scary hours.
A little bit over a month ago, I was actually pulled over by ICE.
Oh.
Yeah. And luckily for me, I had documentation on me.
Right.
But that was a point in time where like I was cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like because I had the documentation, I could waste ICE's time and be sent back home. But now we're entering into a period. If that happens again, I don't know what will happen. I don't know what the outcome will be.
Because they have arrested people and handcuffed people before they even looked at their documentation.
Exactly.
And a lot of times they're masked up to where you don't even know who that person
they look
is.
they look like just like jump out boys.
Now,
you know what I mean?
Now Pittsburgh is a city. What's unique about Pittsburgh to every other city is you can carry a gun in Pittsburgh legally.
Open carry.
Yeah. And then it's very easy to get a concealed carry license.
Yeah.
So now some dudes roll up to you with mask on.
Right. And you put a nigga down.
And you pull out your gun. They pull out your gun. Now you're a cop killer.
Right.
Or a killer of a... So it's so much that can go wrong, but it seems like this is where they want it to be.
Yeah, precisely.
If you feel comfortable, can you just talk about like what that experience was like? Because I'm very curious of like how they were stopping people. And
right.
Like
did they have the light?
Yeah, but it was a completely unmarked vehicle. It looked like a regular car.
Right.
And I remember I went past 2 stop signs and all of a sudden this white SUV behind me has cop lights in its grill. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? This is weird.
Yeah.
I thought this was a regular car.
Right.
So then I pull over. it took me a minute to realize that bro was ICE. Because when he first pulled up to the side of the car, I'm thinking like, this man is like in a janitor outfit. Like, who is this guy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then I saw 2 cop cars behind me pull up shortly after him.
Right.
And he told me it was about one of my taillights was out and to get that fixed ASAP. And also the plate on my car isn't my new plate.
Right.
So he's thinking, oh, he's driving in an unregistered vehicle.
Right.
He must be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, that's super fascinating.
But I don't think ICE has jurisdiction to do traffic stops.
No, they
Miracle,
don't.
you're talking about laws that obviously don't exist here in the United States.
No, but
anymore.
I do think that
because they did that in Virginia. They did a traffic stop in Virginia.
Correct. I think people. That's one of the things that like people have to be mindful of because I don't believe we're next to a border. Unless they're saying like the airport is a border.
Right.
Like they shouldn't be doing these traffic stops, and they should, and that people should be fighting back on like their jurisdiction and saying they don't have jurisdiction to enforce things because ICE is about immigration. Not if I have my car.
They're not DMV. Department of Transportation.
And again, I think this is one of those things about like how we have to learn about like how to do de-arrest and how to like really question police because it is very scary. Like when you're like someone who can like take your life legally and you have to be like, you can't be here. Like get off my lawn. Like it is very scary, but I think this is something that we're really going to have to learn about. But like, but I do think if you are a citizen and ICE stops you, waste their time, be there for like 2-3 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, make them search.
Go live, do everything you can.
Definitely record
all the
it.
things because we have to do everything we can to push back against fascism, and there's nothing too big or too small to stop it because again, no one should be working with ICE, no one should be collaborating with ICE, and that is what
I did want to
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I did want to challenge you though earlier, Miracle, because
always a man.
right.
You had mentioned
a light-skinned man at that.
Right. Correct
Pain of Miracle's existence.
Correct me in private or at the end, but here we go.
You had mentioned that part of why or how Trump was doing what he was doing, there was no pushback. And so, but there has been, on one, we've seen Bernie Sanders and LC and kind of this progressive, they're doing these fight oligarchy rallies. They just had 36,000 people in Los Angeles at this fight oligarchy rally. And also,
that's a big word, man. I don't know that word.
Maybe surprisingly,
there's like a parade to stop fascism.
Oh shit!
Go ahead.
Okay, particularly when Trump wants to parade on his birthday.
No,
Trump wants to spend $80 million on his birthday, but also Miracle. Harvard University rejected the Trump administration's demands that they change their policies. The federal government has now frozen $2.2 billion, but Harvard is going to sue. For those resources. So there has been a lot of lawsuits coming. It says, according to CNN, it says 2 large firms, Jenner and Block and Wilmer Hale, which have huge Washington practice, have sued the Trump administration to challenge his executive orders targeting them and their clients. So it looks like folks are suing. It looks like folks are rallying. It's tax day here. There's going to be a bunch of rallies today. They're supposed to be rallies on Saturday. Bernie LC, is that not enough for you? Is that
is it not enough for me?
No, I'm asking you. Is it too little, too late?
Let me gaslight somewhere.
Jesus.
What I will say is, correct me if I'm wrong. Earlier,
was that triggering? Is that enough?
Earlier, I believe
Miracle.
I said
I call you every day and text you every morning. Is that not enough?
No, he does not. No, not again. Not again. No, he does not.
Oh, that was it. We're joking.
Listen, I can't.
We're joking.
I can't.
That's a joke.
I believe, if you were listening,
I believe
that I said the Democrats had not been fighting back, that community organizations.
True. But you were saying bigger. But you were saying like Harvard is big, right? These law firms are big.
Yeah,
Bernie and
Harvard
LC
fired their Palestinian professors.
Yeah.
And closed down a lot of their
and got rid of the black woman that was leading.
And they said, listen, we will stop your Middle Eastern outreach, but anything else is a bridge too far for us. So yes,
True.
Harvard did some good, Harvard did some bad. But
Yes.
I do think that originally, and I said this before, I think people had racial fatigue and they allowed Trump
True.
to come in and basically say, okay, we don't have to do black shit no more. And that was like whatever.
Yeah.
And then he didn't stop. And then there's a problem with like white supremacists. They forget that they're only supposed to mess with black people. But when they start to come for the women, and they come for the immigrants, and they come for the gays, and they come for the businesses, and then it's like everybody then was like, oh, so now you're treating me like a black person. And that is what you're starting to see, because black people, we're told we can't hang out, right? If we're 2 or 3 outside, we're in a gang, right? If we're too loud, we're too noisy, we get all these rules and regulations of where we can go, how we can go. We gotta, buy permits to have barbecues and kickbacks in the park, across from in the neighborhoods that we live in. Now everyone gets treated like black people, and they ready to like lose their minds.
Yeah.
And that is the issue. When it's only for immigrants, people are like, okay. But now when you do the good folks, now when you talk about people's businesses, now when you're canceling cancer research, it's a problem. When you were canceling, loans for black women and businesses, it was like, okay, that's okay. And so now you see people fighting back. And I do think and I'm trying to, obviously, because of things that's happening, on Sunday, trying to word my words very carefully. But I do see a pattern with how this economic downturn is particularly impacting white men.
Yes.
And how white men are becoming woke and not attacking poor black people anymore. And they are attacking what they see as power holders.
Systems, yeah.
And I'm trying to be very, very, careful when I say this, but I don't think that people are prepared for that twist, right? Because you're used to, gay bashings, from these white supremacist groups. You're used to black people being jumped. Like, here in Pittsburgh, we've had, black men be jumped outside of clubs, black men be pushed on train, like different things. So we're used to poor working class people being the brunt of the violence, the whole Klan,
And you're saying right now we saw a man go to the governor's residence in Pennsylvania where, many of us as maybe, I know I've been, not to flex.
Stay humble, just here.
I've been there several times.
They parked their car.
Did you check on your friend to make sure he was okay?
Oh, of course. Of course. And because, Josh Shapiro, our governor, and his family was in the residence. When a man jumped the fence and set the governor's residence on fire, this is somebody who supposedly was a supporter of Donald Trump, although he denied that. He was denied bail. That said he climbed over the fence with a homemade Molotov cocktail, said he wanted to actually fight or put hands on Josh Shapiro. It said he was harboring hatred. This is a guy named...
Don't say his name.
Okay, well, yeah. He's a white man. Let's say that.
I think CB is his initials.
Right. Josh Shapiro spoke out.
He did.
In regards to his residence being set on fire. Can you play that clip, sir?
Yo, he hit these niggas.
Yes.
With
not a nigga.
Yes.
He was talking to a Caucasian.
He was speaking out against...
He hit these niggas with the most disappointed dad... TGIF speech,
definitely,
like a white Joe Clark from Stand By Me,
definitely, all of that.
Shapiro went. Listen to Governor Josh Shapiro talk bad to these people.
Yes,
this type of violence is not okay.
Talk heavy.
This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop. We have to be better than this. And we have a responsibility to all be better.
That's a very presidential
comments.
Yeah. What are your comments, Trouble?
I want to start by saying I do feel for Josh Shapiro. That's a situation that no one wants their family to have to endure.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to make it about violence and how this type of violence shouldn't be okay, I feel like there's a man in the White House you should talk to one-on-one, man to man. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't sit and talk about this type of violence, but then excuse all other types of violence, right? State violence, presidential violence, judicial violence. If we're going to talk about this type of violence not being okay in this country, I feel like we should. If you're in that position of power,
right,
you do have the influence to speak on it on a greater scale.
But he did. I mean, Shapiro challenged Donald Trump, obviously, when Donald Trump was running for president. I mean, I think he's been clear about, took Donald Trump to court over funds from Pennsylvania and won. So he has been somebody that has pushed back very clearly on the Trump administration, and to me, that's who he's talking to.
Yeah,
he's talking to. But remember Shapiro? They they set his residence on fire. Remember they tried to kidnap the Michigan governor
a couple years ago.
So we are seeing this, and this is kind of what Miracle was talking about. When these white men get angry, it's very different, right? We gonna get a sign out and we gonna do our little protest. You know what I'm saying? We gonna hold our little sign. When these white men get upset, it's a very different response. And if they start to feel like, and I think this is where, remember when Trump was putting the judge's name out. What was the main? Jack Smith, the prosecutor, the black woman who was the judge. They start getting all these death threats. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of how they've worked. Like the Trump administration is cool with violence. In fact, Trump had a very weak milquetoast response.
Yeah, he said
to Shapiro's residence being set on fire.
Yeah, he said President Trump said on Monday the attacker who set fire to Josh Shapiro's residence over the weekend wasn't a fan of anybody and probably just a whack job. So the quote was, the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand. Just from what I read and what I've been told, the attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. He was probably just some whack job. And then he goes on to say, certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen. But
you see how he started?
Yeah.
The attacker wasn't a fan of Trump.
Like he tried to remove himself from the situation.
This is about Josh Shapiro and his family. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
Oh, he wasn't a fan of anybody. You know what I'm saying? No, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's to echo what Miracle said, I think these white men specifically, I think that the epicenter of it is a lot of these angry agriculturalists, these farmers who have felt the probably the hardest push down from the Trump administration. Right. And they're just now starting to realize that they were just fodder for his electoral politics. Like Trump basically played in their faces for the last 8 years. And those are the people who are probably going to be the most violent because they have the most cause to. Right. And a lot of these white men who are empowered and emboldened, it is basically like that scene of what's it called from the Batman, with Robert Pattinson. Like a lot of these white men who are becoming extremists and emboldened online and radicalized because of they feel like their place is being challenged in America. Right. That they're no longer the center mark and the benchmark of America. So these white men are like, these incels and a lot of these people who look to these podcasters and they look to these they look to these, I don't even know how you want to call it, these self-empowered men on Instagram and social media, and they push themselves to the fringes of society, now trying to reclaim something that they believe was rightfully theirs all along.
Yeah, you was
about to talk crazy, Miracle.
I think you're
I'm a
seeing
respect
that.
to Siri.
Okay.
No, get your crazy talk on.
And we're gonna move to the next.
Before Miracle gets into it, I have two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, where are we at these days with the concept of a duel? Like, can you still
duel? Like,
slapping
someone with a glove, and I challenge you to a duel, sir.
Yeah, like where are we with that? Like,
there's certain states that have legalized combat. I think Washington State is one of them because they had a superhero called Phoenix Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, but like it has to be in front of a police officer. But I think they're the only state that does
a superhero.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Phoenix Jones used to walk the streets of Seattle and used to like stop crime and shit. He was like a vigilante.
All right.
Yeah, but he was like allowed to under the law, like some local law. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but speaking of these, you had another question.
Yeah. Two is, what's happening to this man? Is he getting deported?
Great question. And we haven't heard about that. Now, he was denied bail. But remember, we just had a situation where a white teenager killed his parents, right? And because he killed his parents, supposedly he killed his parents as a larger plot to, quote, assassinate Donald Trump, because he felt like Donald Trump is being controlled by Jewish people. And he was part of this neo-Nazi group.
Wait, what? I missed this.
A 17-year-old Wisconsin student killed his parents as part of a larger plot to, quote, assassinate Donald Trump. And it was saying that he was part of a neo-Nazi group.
How was it this bigger news?
It was a neo-Nazi group, and probably because of the connotation, right? Like you said, as these white men see, remember, Trump did I'm going to give y'all tariffs, and then he pulled them back again. He's been doing this the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Now they're actually accusing him of insider trading, because there was a video of him with billionaires in his office, and they were talking about, this guy made $900 million.
Yeah.
This guy made $2 billion.
Charles Schwab or some shit like that. Yeah,
so imagine if you're one of these farmers and these tariffs on China are bankrupting your business, or some of these business people. There was a white guy who half his business went away, and people were laughing at him on TikTok because they're like, you voted for Trump. And he got really mad. He was like, you should look at me as a human being. I don't judge people. I don't judge people based on who they voted for.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Exactly. Because people were saying, like, I love that for you. But again, now, if you're one of these white people who, again, voted for Trump, again, you excuse all his racism, you excuse all his bigotry, you excuse all of his homophobia, transphobia, and you excuse all of his misogyny and violence against women recorded, right? And you said he's going to make the economy better, and now you're in a position where you're losing your businesses, you're losing your 401k. Remember, Trump said, we're going to excuse electronics, phones, and computers, right? So now here you are as a farmer, you don't get any support.
Right.
But these other billionaires...
I've been saying this, the farmers are going to be the ones that spark everything
Apple gets support. So I do think we're going to see, unfortunately, more political violence in this space. I think Treble's question is the question: how are they going to be treated?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How is this 17-year-old going to be treated? How is this guy that set fire to the governor's residence? Are they going to be sent to El Salvador?
Yeah.
Or is that just reserved for black and brown people? And it actually takes us to this case that we have not talked about. Right. But it's something that had been taken off on social media of a young man named Carmelo Anthony.
And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have heard about this had it not been from social media. To be fair, a lot of the news that we get and consume comes from social media. But I've only seen one news headline cover this so far, like one segment on actual network news.
Right. It's beginning to pick up. And this happened in Texas. A 17-year-old black student was charged with fatally stabbing a white student at a track meet in Texas. Yeah. What happened, from Carmelo's point of view, was he was attacked. Right. He was attacked by these guys that he actually told them, leave me alone. I have the ability to protect himself. And so when these guys attacked him, he took out his knife and stabbed one of them. And now, these white men are going crazy. Of course. Saying that he should get the book thrown at him. He shouldn't get bail. He should get the death penalty, even though
it's not. Go ahead. I had things
you raised millions of dollars for Kyle Rittenhouse, who was not under attack,
who was transported across state lines with an unregistered firearm.
Illegally he killed 2 people, wounded another. You was fine with him. You made him a celebrity. Yeah. You were fine with him and the judge taking pictures. You were fine with George Zimmerman killing Trayvon. You made him a celebrity.
Zimmerman tried to sell the gun he killed Trayvon with on eBay.
So you were cool with all of this, but yet when a young black man protects himself, now you want the book thrown at him. You said you had some thoughts, and I'll go around. One of the things I just say, initially his bond was $1 million. Right. They reduced his bond to $250,000, and these white people were very upset with that because the judge was a black woman, or is a black woman.
Yeah. There was a very viral post that went out about 10 years ago. It was about this black child, a young black child. It's like, at what age do I stop being cute and innocent? Right?
Yes.
At what age do we stop, or do you start considering black children men? I just want to know, like, what the benchmark is. Right? Is it 14? Is it 15? Because Kyle Rittenhouse.
Well, can that black man carry a football, shoot a basketball, right? Run track and field? It's like, can that black man contribute economically to capitalism? Like, if he's able to play basketball and can win your school a national title, then he's fine.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Kyle Rittenhouse was considered a child. He was done. Everything was done to eliminate him from adulthood.
Yeah.
He was a 17-year-old darling boy. You know, all the adjectives used to keep prepubescence attached to him.
Yeah.
Every quarter was given to him.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony, all of a sudden now, and not Hoodie Mello. You know what I mean? Not
the basketball player. Or his sons.
Right, yeah. Right? Talking about Carmelo Anthony with a K.
Yes.
Is a terrible man. You know, he's all these things at 17 years old, right? For defending himself in a manner that you would pretty much, that any parent would tell your child to do, defend yourself, right?
You had posted something to our chat where it said it was a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah. You want
Kyle Rittenhouse was in a town he wasn't a resident of protesting. He was 17, carrying a gun federally outlawed to carry until 18.
We're gonna put it up on the screen right over here.
He was attacked after warning attackers he would shoot, killed 2, injured 1. He raised almost over $500,000 for his legal defense fund. He was acquitted. Carmelo was at a place he was supposed to be. He was carrying a knife. He was attacked. He warned the attackers he would defend himself, killed one of them, and that's unfortunate, you know, for that man and his family. They tried to shut his legal defense fund down, and they want him to get the heaviest sentence. So it's like, what other reason can it be other than because this is a young black man?
Yeah.
It seems as though white people have a monopoly on violence, but also a monopoly on justice.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And this is white supremacy playing out. It's like they want this right to comfort and this like lack of conflict only when, you know, they're not the victims of violence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they can make us uncomfortable as they want, but let us defend ourselves to a point where now you lost your life on some dumb shit.
Yes.
Now it's a problem.
Right. And again, this is somebody that has no history of any type of violence or crime. And but again, not that would that we also have to always be like the perfect victims. We have to have the perfect story.
That's one of my favorite things that you've ever said. Yeah.
In order to get some type of justice. Miracle, did you have a comment on this case?
I had a couple comments. One, justice is not this one-off situation where like we have a Kyle Rittenhouse, now you have a Carmelo Anthony type thing. So I do think that we have to find ways to move beyond trying to everyone get their lick back in different ways to people that they're not connected to. I do think this illuminates, again, like I was saying earlier, this idea that there are a lot of men who are going to default to violence when they are faced with issues that they do not like, or faced with some type of, oppression that they deem is hurting them. In the situation, Carmelo Anthony allegedly went to go see a friend in this tent. That was for this other school. That's why he was there. He was invited in, and they had a problem with him being there.
Right.
Instead of being like, oh, this person that I don't like is here, let me go hang out with my friends and hang out with the people I want to hang out with, this confrontation ensued. And this idea that there are a lot of men who do not have social emotional learning. There are a lot of people who have not been taught on how to deal with not necessarily violence, but conflict in normal ways, right? You have all of these people, these debate me bro people are always want to fight people or always want to antagonize people. These guys who are this YouTube incel culture really do not know how to engage people appropriately. And again, I think that these situations is why we have to advocate for transformative justice.
Right.
This kid is dead, right? The family is going to be grieving, but there's nothing that can be done to bring this child back. So like, how do we create justice from the situation? How do we resolve this type of violence, and how do we learn and grow from it? I think of, because like if people are watching this case, I was watching the KK trial. Like it shows you like what's going on in Texas and the thing, you know. But I think it's the same, different coin, but same type of issue. Is like, how do we teach people how to move away from violence in a country that is predicated on violence and only knows how to mobilize with violence and only respects violence? Like, how do we become better and create that better world? That's where I'm kind of taking away from this, because like, yes, he stabbed.
But Miracle, how can we teach people when they're taking the books that people need to learn out of the schools, Miracle? They took Maya Angelou's
Correct.
I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, right? Ibram Kendi's How to Be Anti-Racist. Like, these books that might teach you just the presence of a black man isn't a threat to you, right? And again, supposedly Carmelo said, like, don't touch me and see what happens. And this other boy put his hands on
Correct.
Carmelo to move him out of this place. And again, it's like, but I feel like if you take out I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and this was removed from the Naval Library, but you leave in Mein Kampf, that's not going to create the time. Remember, to these white ring Republicans, those men that would use emotional intelligence, right, would use their brains, would be in touch with their feelings, those are woke guys that they want to get rid of. Mm-hmm. They want the tough machismo. I just do all the push-ups, even though JD Vance can't even fucking hold a trophy without breaking this shit. This is like one of the softest men we've ever seen in our lives. But again,
from
like,
couch to cuck.
But
just
so
dumpster Vance.
How do we here's Trump saying to schools, you have to remove anything that would teach any type of black history, or you won't get federal funding. If that is happening right in our face, Miracle, and they're really saying we don't want men to use intelligence. We want men to punch somebody in the face. We want, until we do it, obviously, until a black man does it, then it's a problem. How do we get to that world?
I think we have to organize that world. I think we have to put these books back in the library. Yeah. Having these after school programs and conversations, and really creating interruption that is not only in person but online. You know, radically inviting these folks to events, doing, you know, training. I like how Coach Sanders, when he was doing his football boot camp, was also bringing in people to talk about this is what the real world is like.
Coach Deion Sanders.
Coach Deion Sanders. This is what the world. This is what you have to face, whether it's groupies or people trying to get money from you. This is the things that you're engaging, and I think we have to start doing that. And I think we have to radically go after these young folks. We can't just really be afraid of them. We can't just like say, oh, the streets have them, I can't talk to them, right?
Absolutely.
I think I keep going back to when we were sitting down with a couple, young men a few weeks ago, and they were just like, just giving them, when the kid said, if I could do anything, I just want to be in a field. And he wasn't saying like slavery. He was like, I just want to be somewhere where I can just like lay down, be free. And just to think about the trauma and the stress and the angst.
Yeah.
And
because all that is rising. But Miracle, I was actually leading you to a place. Because there is a plan, Miracle. There is a plan.
Is it a plan or concepts of a plan?
No, there's a plan.
There's a plan, Monty.
Yes, and there's a resistance that's coming. And that plan is the reemergence. Somebody, Miracle, went into whatever residence
what is wrong with
Joe Biden was at and woke that man up and said, Joe,
Lord, that man brought us here.
We need you on the front line.
No one said that.
According to CNN, it says
no one has requested that.
Biden will begin to reemerge.
No, thank you.
Today on Tuesday.
And was he Lazarus?
This says the first big public speech of Biden's post-presidency will be all about protecting Social Security and comes as many Democrats stage a national day of action against the feared cuts for the program.
You know what?
Unless it's, I'm sorry, America, when I said I was going to be a one-term president, I should have kept that promise and not ran again. I don't want to hear it because all of this violence that we are undergoing right now as a country, again, you can lay at the feet of Biden. Stop talking.
This is what CNN says.
No.
It says it's an odd spot for someone who was the leader of the free world less than 100 days ago. And for those who have been trying to sort out what to say and do about a man they feel affection for, but blame in part for the situation they're in now. They said they spoke to a long-term donor. Like, are you excited about hearing the president? The donor said no.
I mean, at the end of the day, you caused this. Like, you caused this violence. And I am not the biggest... Wait, let me finish. I am not the biggest Harris stan. Yes. But if you were actually a patriot who cared about America, you wouldn't have threatened her, and you would have let her cook and let her fight for the communities as she saw fit, right?
Yes.
And so this idea that people who were being arrested right now because you wouldn't let them be citizens 6 months ago, you do not know. You coming out right now is like the worst time, unless you were saying you were sorry, unless you were saying that you Palestinians are human beings, unless you were saying that you should have protected Social Security, you should have protected abortion rights access, unless you were coming to say it was too late, you waited too late to care, and now people don't need to wait too late to resist. You don't need to be here, bro. Like, you just need to be what a white privileged man and retire and enjoy your old age, unlike the thousands of people you have helped murder, unlike the hundreds of people you have helped put in prison. You just need to just go away and be thankful that the good Lord has not allowed the end of your life to be what you deserve.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Lord have mercy.
On a bike.
Wow. So question, Miracle. What if he was, and it's funny because people have said, like one Democratic member of Congress said, according to CNN, I haven't heard one person who has communicated with him. What if he comes out and says, I'm sorry. Like what?
The bare minimum a man can do is apologize. The bare minimum a man can do is take accountability for their actions. And I think he'd be like, yeah, I wanted to stay because I thought it was me, and now it wasn't me. Because let's be real, when we look at the maps, like Harris did her big one, and it still was worse. But the maps, had he still been in, it would have just been all red.
Of course.
No blue.
Of course.
Anyway.
Okay.
Right?
So here's a person close to him, close to Biden. This is a quote, Miracle.
The Grim Reaper?
Oh, shit.
No.
Is that the Grim Reaper?
He's going to outlive all of us.
It says, quote, Joe Biden is going to thrive in that very wise senior statement role of, how do I help you navigate? And I think people want him engaged and involved. Obviously not Miracle.
No. That's the privilege of whiteness.
He said, we're not hearing stay away. We're hearing the opposite.
That's whiteness. Like, you literally get to create a problem.
Yes.
And then pretend you also have the solution to the problem you created.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is like
that's how
white privilege right there. You create the issue, and then if you don't know the solution, you get to go on a speaking tour and a book tour talking about how this issue was created and what I've learned from it. Because you get to learn from your mistakes. Because white people get to learn from mistakes they made, while black people get bullet holes. Okay. And so I am just not okay with this idea that this man who destroyed so much of Democratic infrastructure gets to now come back and act like he's saving it when he poisoned it.
So this kind of this topic leads us to our black male segment, because we got a black male about last week's episode, which was titled The Final Reckoning. And it was about Kamala Harris. And we talked about Joe Biden saying Kamala, there can't be any distance between them, all of that. And that probably one of the things that was the final nail in Kamala's coffin was her saying she wouldn't do anything differently than what Joe Biden had done. So this came from a woman named, a black woman named Aljori, please, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry, Stallings. It says, I seriously have a bone to pick with this episode as a black woman. With other blacks criticizing Kamala's, quote, I told you so stance, and laughter post-election 2024. Yes, her campaign messaging with the awful white folks behind the scenes, having her and Tim Walz constrained, was awful, period, full stop. And that was in all caps and bold letters.
Of course it was.
They should have let them be more free out on the campaign indeed. But she said what the hell she said during the damn campaign, what was going to happen, and now it has. Don't the hell get mad at the meteorologists telling you today is a weather alert day for rain and storms and brush it off, and later in the day be mad you forgot your umbrella and are now driving home in pouring rain. What the hell more did you all want for her to do differently post-election and say differently, or cheer you up with some cookies and spirited words or whatever? I can't sometimes with black people, hashtag eye roll.
So I feel like this is coming from a person who got frustrated and didn't listen past their frustration, because Miracle has been telling us what she would prefer Kamala do when she was campaigning.
Yes.
And then even in that episode, we said what we would rather her do post election.
Yes.
But it's like, if she would just hear past the criticism she has for us.
But to her point though, like, if you're Kamala Harris and you went on the debates and you said, this is what tariffs are going to do, and you said, yo, I got 7 motherfucking Wharton school whatever she said, all the business people are saying he's going to destroy the economy. He doesn't have a plan. He's only looking out for himself. And then it happens. Does she have a space or a right to say, I tried to tell y'all and y'all didn't listen?
Well, I don't think, while Miracle and I specifically were very critical of Kamala last episode, right? We have to take it.
But you also gave her props for her silk pressless.
Oh, I mean, I'm always gonna get, like, aesthetically,
Yeah.
love her. Beautiful woman. Wild intelligent. I think that though we have to look at things larger than a debate performance.
Yes.
Which she did amazing. I don't think anybody thought she wasn't going to do great in the debates against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, she chose to, for one reason or another. What was the lady's name that wrote in?
Aljory.
Miss Stallings.
Yes, Miss Stallings.
Miss Stallings.
Yes.
Your champion, because I think I already know the type of person you are, just given by the term, the tone.
Because a man.
Okay, a man. One email knows her whole life. Go ahead.
Just. That's good. That was really fucking good, man. That was brilliant.
Come on. We be deciphering them text messages. Come on.
Yeah, man. Come on. We know. This isn't the first time I've been pinned to the cross. No, I mean, you know, we know you were probably one of these black excellence people, one of these black capitalists that align themselves so staunchly to Kamala that you couldn't see past your own shortcomings in your candidate, right? Kamala was another warmonger who was going to repeat the same protocol, the same step and fetch fashion that Joe Biden had laid before them and the Democrats had put out and said that they wanted in their candidate of choice. Right? Kamala was no different than that. The American people, for one reason or another, one voting constituency, thought that this wasn't going to be the choice. This wasn't going to be the move. The debate performances weren't enough. Raising millions and millions and millions upon dollars in record times wasn't enough. This doesn't say that Donald Trump was a better candidate. This just goes to show that Kamala was still the weaker candidate and not the choice that anybody wanted. And in the past couple elections, when all we've been left with is bad choices, unfortunately, the Democratic Party failed her as Kamala failed herself on the campaign trail. This has nothing to do with her as an individual. This has something to do with the Democratic Party not being able to get out of its own way, not giving free reign to elect someone who is probably more capable of running the country or giving us a new look at leadership. Instead, they wanted someone who was basically Biden's mouthpiece with a different palette swap.
Yeah.
And that's what we were left with. It has nothing to do with who Kamala is or isn't outside of the presidential office in the campaign. It's the fact that her fucking anemic attempt at, you know, reinstilling confidence in the Democratic Party was just so whack that no one wanted that shit.
Right. So black woman to black woman. Miracle, do you have a comment for this black woman we disappointed and let down with our critique of our former vice president.
Anyone can be critiqued. And I remember I had a conversation with someone who was like, do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? Do you want people to say you're correct or do you want people to say you actually help them? And so this is the reality of the world that we are living in. She could have been like, yeah, I was right, but this is the work that we need to do now, and this is how we need to do it.
Right.
Because if you are taking on the mantle of leadership, too much is given, much is required.
Right.
And when you fail to support people, when you fail to help people, they have a right to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
That's the part right there.
Whether you do good or bad. And for me, I will always say, I believe that for a lot of folks to get in positions of power, they, especially some like our older black people, they believe they have to go along to get along.
There we go.
They believe that they can't rock the boat, that they just have to follow the blueprint, and then
Respectability politics.
and then when it's their turn, they can do the good thing and they do the right thing. But I remember my mentor says, like, once you can either be you or you can be your representative. When the choices you make in life, it's either you or your representative, and you're never going to be able to switch the two of them. Because that's just the way the world works. And so you have to figure out right now, when you move this world, are you going to be you or are you going to be the representative of you that you think that people are going to find palatable?
Wow.
Because you're never going to be able to make the changes. You can't go from being like the straight-laced person to Angela Davis.
Right.
The world does not work that way.
Come on, Miracle.
And for me, I think that Harris felt like she needed to get her props off and dust her shoulders because like she's human. But at the time when the violence that is happening can still be traced to your actions and your policy, I don't think that was the appropriate response.
Right. I wonder, Miracle, if this reemergence of Obama, Kamala Harris, and now Biden is a response to what Bernie and AOC
It absolutely
Yes,
is.
because they're
doing.
trying to save their legacy.
Yep.
It's ego.
But because I would think like, okay, so let's say if you see Bernie and AOC able to everywhere they go bring out tens of thousands of people, it would be dope. Like, why wouldn't Kamala join?
Because she's unpopular.
Well, no, I'm just saying. But if Kamala joined it, like if Kamala was like, "Hey, yo, I want to be down," and if you had AOC, Bernie, and Kamala,
they don't want
talking
her.
about
It's clear.
Well, no. I think it's the opposite. I think they would welcome her. I think the problem is that in the Democratic Party, Bernie and AOC are seen as too progressive. Because they're also talking, Bernie, I saw a clip where Bernie was talking about not another dollar to Israel, right? That he was somebody committed to saying that, and to me, that's like, they got enough money and bombs, right? So I think that that's part of it. I think that it's like, okay, we're seeing Bernie and AOC talking about fighting oligarchy, right? Talking about populism and common sense economic principles, but who really funded Obama and Kamala and the Biden wing of the Democrat, and you can add Schumer and Jeffries to that, is they're still trying to fundraise. They want to have a populist message, but be in bed with billionaires and be in bed with the war machine. They want both. And I think right now we're saying, no, choose one. And it would be dope to see, like, yo, if you want to come back and you want to speak to thousands of people, why not join? Like, obviously what Bernie and AOC doing is working to some degree.
Yeah.
They're creating excitement. They're bringing crowds out. They got artists with them. I seen like Maxwell Frost with them. They're bringing some of the younger progressive into the...
Maxwell Frost, he sound like he about to commit wild crime.
That's an ill rap name. Yeah. But so like, it would be dope to say, hey, I want to join in with that. But to say no because these ideas are too progressive, or because, like I said, you want to walk this fence, and that fence walking never works.
Yeah, Miracle? Go ahead, Miracle.
No, I would wish that they would do like traveling debates and conversations and talk about this is their platform and why. Because I do not understand why you took out torture from a Democratic platform.
Yeah.
I do not understand why you were like, you know what? Okay, we're actually okay with torture.
Yeah.
Because if you have torture in your Democratic platform, when he sends these people to El Salvador, you can literally say we have in our Democratic platform.
There you go.
This policy against extraordinary rendition and torture and sending people abroad. You took it out.
Yeah.
Right.
So like for me, that's the things that I'm keyed on. It was like not only are you failing your people by the policies you took out, but you didn't replace anything for single payer. You came out and said you don't support single payer. So like people, how are people supposed to pay for healthcare insurance? You said you didn't support, this massive wave of student loan forgiveness. So what is your plan to stop this system that is preying on people trying to better their lives and trying to get an education, knowing that these universities are exploiting and stealing labor? What is your plan? And that's what people were asking this past 6 months, a year, because like, what is your plan? Because all the things that you supported when you were in California, when you got to be president, you said that's not you anymore.
Right.
Okay. Did we care about fracking like 50-50, right? So what could you say this is how I believe we're going to develop green energy in this way, and this is not that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and for me, I know people who were involved in this campaign, and that's why I can like back up everything I say.
Yeah.
Because it was a bad campaign and people were
Well, she acknowledged that. Like Ms. Stallings acknowledged that.
but people were intentionally excluded.
Yes.
The campaign said we prioritize Republican voters over our base.
Yes, they did.
That was their strategy.
And that was a horrible
This is the part Ms. Stallings should be listening to right
And
here.
so
I kept
when-
But
reading
she
that.
she acknowledged the strategy was awful.
No,
though. She did.
but my thing is, so then people do not, like, we can sit there and say, like, none of this stuff would be happening if Harris would have won. But we cannot actually say that for a fact.
Right.
Because there are people who were eligible to be deported. There are
Right.
people who were under investigation. So when we look at this, when we're saying, tell us what you think, you said that Biden said there could be no daylight between the two of you. You're free now.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think.
And it's
you
still-
still not
it's-
telling us what you think and what you
Well, what she
believe in.
thinks is, I told y'all so.
And what you are fighting
and
for.
we would
Well,
have a better America if I was president.
But here's
That's
the
what
thing.
She thinks. But I think she can get that off. But once she does,
You can't. No.
but she can get that off. But once she does, it has to be okay. Where do we go from here? And if her thing is, yo, you should have listened to me, y'all in it. Hey, I'm out. Like, I can't be mad at her.
No.
I'll be out. You know what I'm saying?
but
if she's still in, give us something.
You can't. You cannot walk the tightrope of a minefield
I don't.
and not call attention. Like that's exactly what she did. She walked the center line so carefully, knowing what was on both sides of it. Didn't call any type of decommission for the minefield. So part of the metaphor, but there was nothing that she did that was substantive enough for us to believe that there was going to be some radical change or
It definitely,
anything.
right. Definitely would not have been a radical change.
Nothing that was marketed about this that was going to give us confidence as a voting base.
Correct.
Knowing that we were purposefully excluded, specifically us four at this table, purposefully excluded from any of these conversations. And to the people who were commenting about, oh, okay, why don't we do more for the community? Why don't we run for office? Why don't we do things? First of all, I can't run for office. I got a criminal record. Secondly, we've done things in Pittsburgh that have echoed throughout the entire country.
You can't put smut on our
Yeah,
name.
you can't.
I mean,
Like we've changed local government,
Yes.
city politics. We
Yes.
brought every major English-speaking news network in the world to Pittsburgh to see the progressive political movement that we've been at the keystone of. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Right. So loudum talks, brother. Naja Beek, fam.
Well, I'm glad. Well, thank you, Ms. Stallings. Hopefully you're watching this. And if you have any commentary about our show, good and bad, you know,
we welcome it all.
Yeah, Sheila, we got your link. We're gonna watch that as a group as well. Go to info@onehood.org. That's info@1hood.org. If you like Miracle's shirt, well, I don't think those are available. I think that was a We have to bring those back.
Yeah, that was just for us.
That was
a special
Antoine Rose shirts. I've been wearing
the purple one. Yeah,
a lot of people have been asking and requesting that too.
So if you want some One Hood gear or want to support One Hood, go to onehood.org under new merchandise. You can get. We got hoodies, we got shirts, we got crews, we got a whole bunch of stuff that you can support and purchase. And today's White Pages is an Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. Shout out to our Indigenous people and community who also could imagine we have a situation where an Indigenous person could possibly be deported from the country you came. Your forefathers wasn't here. Crazy. This is Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. This was winner of the 2015 American Book Award and Indigenous Peoples History of the United States. Oh, even if I see a quote from Robin Kelly, I know it's going to be a banging book. One of our great black academic minds. With that being said, anything happening, going on?
I would just like to give a large, supersized shout out. Leah 2 King.
Yes.
Got drafted by the LA Sparks last
Black
night.
excellence.
My people,
Yes.
Yo, congratulations, fam. I cannot wait to see you play. All respect to you. I can't wait to see you again. I'm buying both your jerseys. Congratulations, too.
Congratulations to our sister drafted in the WNBA last night. Anything else? Any other things happening coming up?
This Saturday we have Art in Bloom, a showcase and mixer on Hay Street.
Okay, got you.
Future is Black.
Yes, the Future is Black. Anything else going on, Miracle?
I'm speaking.
Oh, again.
Another rally on Friday.
Speaking at another rally.
First free speech and silence on Friday. But also just reminding people, do not collaborate with ICE. If you're in Pittsburgh, make sure you reach out to support CASA.
It's crazy you even have to say that.
San Jose. And just be very, and support the students. Even here in Pittsburgh, we have students who are having to deport. I actually saw one of the students who I was like, why is he like on the sidewalk hugging people with some suitcases? Doesn't make sense. And then the story had broke, and watching people self-deport, it's a lot. And a lot of our we are a settlement community here in Pittsburgh, and a lot of people a lot of fear and uncertainty right now. So just make sure you're like supporting people. And that's what we have.
Yeah, definitely check on your friends. You know, we saw the brother from LSU take his life. So yeah, you know, they say check on your strong friends, check on your peoples, make sure folks are doing their thing. Also, shout out to our state rep Latasha Mays, who brought the Pennsylvania Black Maternal Health conference here to Pittsburgh. It's Black Maternal Health Week. So we were happy to participate in that conversation and the table yesterday. So shout out to her and all the people that came together to celebrate Black PA maternal health. With that being said,
Happy Jackie Robinson Day.
Happy Jackie Robinson Day.
Never lose sight.
It's always a man.
To help.
Goodbye, everybody.
This week of White Supremacy, peace. One Hood.